Hi, welcome to Care Bear Knits. My name is Kara and let's get into it. Okay, so I don't have a lot of finished objects or really any because they were pretty much all Christmas gift knits, but I am really proud of myself that I actually finished the majority of the ones that I said I was gonna do. So I'll just put in some pictures as I quickly run through some of the things that I made for my family, which I've shared most of them, I think, in my last knitting podcast. First, and maybe my favorite gift knit that I made, which you'll see later in this video how much it really is my favorite because I decided to make one for myself too. I made my nephew the Moby sweater in this beautiful yellow Malabrigo, I want to say it's Malabrigo worsted yarn in the color Pollen. And it is so beautiful, such a joy. Yeah, and I think it turned out really great. I'm really glad that he can fit into it because I did not gauge swatch. I pretty much don't gauge swatch at all, which is, you know, the cardinal sin of knitting, but it's a hobby and I'm gonna do what I like to do, so it is what it is. And then I also knit a sweater for my niece. I knit the UNICEF sweater from Knitting for Olive, and I picked up some yarn for that from my local yarn store that I want to say was an alpaca wool blend. Yeah, she has not tried it on yet. Hopefully, my sister said that it would fit her next year, so I'm not, holding my breath. And ultimately, I feel like gifts for my niece and nephew are kind of gifts for my sister in a way. So, it really doesn't matter to me. It was such a joy to make anyway. And then I made two hipster hats, both in the same yarn, just in different colors. I made one for my dad and one for my brother-in-law, and I think those were really successful. I knit those also in Malabrigo yarn in, I want to say it's like the one, just like a little bit thinner than the worsted, but I forget what it's called. But it's a 100% merino wool, so it's super soft, and I know that both my brother-in-law and my dad would not put up with having an itchy hat on their forehead, so I made sure that that was going to be really comfortable for them to wear. So very, very happy with both of those. And I got some really nice, I think they're Haya. I'll put the correct name up on the screen, but I got some really nice DPNs that are wooden, and it made knitting those hats on 3.5 millimeters just so nice. Like I think for gift knits, for me, it's like it has to be a pattern or a yarn or just like an experience that is really enjoyable to make. I think that like making something where it's like I get to experiment with a new yarn or a new technique or use a color that I wouldn't normally make for myself is sort of like part of where the joy of gift knitting comes in for me, in addition to just being able to share something that I really love to do with my family. So I also made my mom a pair of socks. I used the same pattern as I did for the second pair of socks that I ever made, which is from Cool Stitches. It was a lot of twisted rib. I'm really happy with how they came out, but and you'll see later on, I'm more into vanilla socks at the moment as just a really nice travel project after making two pairs of twisted rib socks. They're beautiful and they're awesome, and I love the finished product, and I wear mine all the time, and I hope that my mom will wear hers. But I don't think I really want to make another pair anytime soon, even though I love the pattern. Okay, so those are pretty much all my finished objects. we're back now, and I think that we should just move right into my works in progress. So let's go maybe like least interesting to most interesting, or they're all interesting, so that doesn't really make sense. But I'll start with I'll start with what I cast on first. How about that? So this is my first of my pair of socks, and this is the first time that I've made socks where I've picked and choose where I've chosen specific things from different patterns that I liked and put them all together. So I did what's it called? I want to say it's like the German twisted cast on. Why can I not think of that? It's the like super stretchy cast on that's really similar to Longtail, but gives you a little bit more stretch. So I did that. And then I did some 2x2 ribbing, and I went for the German short row heel and just a regular wedge toe. And this yarn is really special. It was a gift for my birthday, and it is a really dreamy combination of cashmere, wool, and nylon. And I've made one other pair of socks in this yarn before, and I will say they're super comfortable, super luxurious. The yarn is awesome. They do pill a lot, which doesn't super bother me. I feel like they're socks, they're gonna pill. I want to be able to wear my hand knit socks basically every single day in the winter, and it doesn't really bother me if they start felting a little bit or pilling. So I did get a depiller to, maybe make them look a little bit nicer and just have some good upkeep, but I'm not really bothered by having my hand knit socks look like they get as much love and wear as they do. So I'm working on the second sock. I am all the way done with the leg, and okay, I keep having to stop the video and restart it because my fountain storage is horrible. But hopefully I'll have enough to finish this, and then I'm gonna make a point of actually like downloading everything to my computer, getting all of my storage in order so that I don't have to keep starting and stopping this video. And now my coffee's a little cold, so maybe I'm gonna go warm that up actually. Okay, let's move on to my next work in progress, which I've already alluded to. So, and of course, I'm in the middle of a round, or I'm in the middle of a row rather, because I'm working on the back panel. But this is my Moby sweater. I'm obsessed with it. I fell in love with the Moby sweater pattern right when it came out, and then never actually made any effort to make it. But this past winter, for the holidays, I was to visit my sister in Norway for Christmas, and obviously the only thing I wanted to do, or like the highest thing on my Christmas bucket list, was going to the yarn store. So I picked up, among other things that I'll show later, but I picked up Double Sunday in the color, I have no idea. I feel like it should have a name, but I think it's just the numbers, so I'll put that on screen. And then I also picked up their thin alpaca yarn, which I'm not even gonna try to pronounce. But yeah, I really wanted to knit excuse me. I wanted to knit the sweater without mohair, and I feel like this alpaca yarn is kind of the perfect substitute. It's a little bit thicker than a strand of mohair. You can see. But it doesn't have the same like fluff factor to it. So I feel like it's working out pretty good. I really like the fabric that I'm coming up with. Yeah. And like I said in one of my other podcasts, it's like I feel like I knit baby sweaters so that I can work up the courage to knit something similar for myself. So making the baby version of the Moby sweater for my nephew in that beautiful yellow color was sort of the push that I needed. It was like the proof of concept for this sweater. So I'm really happy that I'm sort of stepping out of my comfort zone a little bit in terms of what I make because I feel like with colors, I tend to get into a little bit of a cycle of knitting with the same colors. So I knit with a lot of black and gray and just like neutrals. But I think that this year I want to challenge myself to, now that now that the majority of my sweater collection is made up of hand knit sweaters, I feel like I have the freedom to actually make things that are a little bit more experimental and that or I'm comfortable making things that I might not like forever. That being said, I was talking to one of my friends yesterday and I was like, "Can you not imagine me as a little grandma in my pink Moby sweater? Like that's adorable." So, I feel like in my head I was like pink isn't going to be a color that I'm going to want a sweater in forever, but I kind of think maybe it will be. Or like I can picture it having longevity in my life. So, very excited about this project. I think it's going to be a slow one. I was talking to my friend who also knits about how this is the longest I've ever spent on a back panel in my life. And that's okay. This year we're prioritizing knits that aren't necessarily quick, um, but ones that I think I'm going to get a lot of wear of and ones that I'm excited about. So that's my first work in progress. Then my next one, which I'm gonna have to put down my microphone to show you, is the Aura Top by Rose Knitwear. So I'm working on the body, and this is such a special treat knit for me. So I'm working with Issachar mohair for the first time in this beautiful, like really, really dark brown purpley color. And I'm very, very excited for this one. I feel like you can't get the full effect of just how beautiful this piece is working up without some like awesome sunlight streaming through the really open gauge. But I was really inspired by this version that Rose Knitwear made as a sample, and so I was on just trying to emulate that. There's no original thought in this cast on, but it's so beautiful, and I'm so excited to have it in my wardrobe. I will say it's so far. I mean, it's a bottom up, super easy knit, but I was prepared for knitting with one strand of mohair on, what is it, 6.5 millimeter needles to not be the most comfortable. And it's fine. It's not the best knitting experience ever. It feels a little awkward, but it's one of those projects where I'm so excited about having the final product that I can put up with it being like slightly uncomfortable um, to have it in my wardrobe. Awesome. All right, so those are all of my works in progress pieces. And I will say, after spending a lot of 2024 knitting gift knits, which I'm so happy I did, it was really fulfilling and awesome to be able to do that. But I am really excited to be knitting things for myself and actually tackling some of my fall knitting plans that just absolutely did not happen. I feel like I need to go back and look at some of the things that I said I was going to make that it's just not happening this year. I mean, never say never, but I feel like my plans have already sort of shifted. And on that note, I feel like we should go into some acquisitions because I have some very fun yarn things that I've picked up since we've last talked. All right. I'm going to start with the yarn that I actually have a plan for. So I picked up some Sunday, which I've never used before. I'm really excited to try out this yarn. It's a fingering weight merino wool, and I feel like it's one of those yarns that I see other podcasters using a lot, but it isn't one that is super. I feel like knitting for Olive and just dropped my yarn. I feel like Knitting for Olive and Sun is Garn are not super accessible in the US, and because of that, I feel like I use every time I go to visit my sister or that my mom goes to visit my sister as an excuse to really go all out at the yarn store because I'm like, I can't get it at home. It's special. I need to get it now. So on that note, I got this Knitting for Olive mohair to pair with the Sunday yarn. And I feel like the Sunday is like coming off a lot more bright than it is in person on camera, but I I do think, or my hope is that the mohair is going to sort of like tone down this red a little bit and make it almost like a neutral for me. But we'll see. And the pattern that I've already bought and I'm really excited to cast on is the My Dream Cardigan by Wool and Beyond. I'm really excited about this one because it's steeked. So I think it's gonna be super nice to be knitting in the round, and then I get to do a skill extension. I've never steeked anything before, and I think in the future I'd be really interested in doing a sort of like all over color work cardigan. And I feel like a lot of those patterns are steeked. Like that's sort of like my understanding is that's kind of the traditional way that you make one of those cardigans. Um, so yeah, I'm excited. I'm really excited about this one. And I think that again, I'm like leaning into knitting with more vibrant colors as neutrals almost. I think like after finishing my Paul sweater and seeing how much wear I get out of that sweater, even though it's a really vibrant, deep blue, I feel like I'm now getting more brave to try out more saturated colors. Okay, and my last yarn acquisition is very fun. I have this lime green mohair from Senna's Garn. It's the Tin Silk mohair. And this was on sale at the yarn shop, and I thought if it's on sale, it'd be a great time to try out a fun color and really lean into the like playful side of my hobby and just have some fun. So I'm not sure what I'm going to make with this. It's entirely possible that I make another Aura top, maybe in sort of like a slightly different, like maybe I'll do short sleeves or make it really cropped or something like that. Um, I don't know. So this is sort of a wild card end of the day purchase that I was like, yeah, throw like let's let me just get it. And I'm excited. So this will be really fun. All right. And then I have a really, really exciting um yarn thing that I'm just really excited about this. I can't even barely speak. And it's the Rose Knitwear book. And let me tell you, I was so excited when I found out that they were releasing a book, and like ordering it and getting it did not disappoint at all. I feel like some knitting books are like you like maybe like one or two patterns in it, and then it's kind of just like this object that's taking up a lot of space. I mean, I love books, as you can see, but I feel like I don't know that I've really come across a lot of other knitting books that really encapsulate my style and the things that I want to make, and that have enough variety that it's like worth having versus just buying the specific patterns. And I would say what I really love about this book is not only the patterns, which are awesome, but there's a stitch dictionary in it, which walks you through some of the like classic rose knitwear um, stitch designs that are, I would say, sort of like they're almost like emblematic, if that's the right word, of rose knitwear. I feel like you could look at something that someone's wearing, right? Like I'm thinking about the stitch pattern for the off-grid sweater, right? And even if you're not wearing the specific sweater, if you make something in that stitch pattern, I feel like other people who knit are gonna look at you and be like, "Oh my god, that's rose knitwear," right? And I feel like that's what an awesome thing to have created these like motifs that are so specific to your brand. That's really inspiring. But anyway, so I cannot say more good things about this book. I think it's really, really worth it. So worth it that I did get one for my sister and give it to her for Christmas. So for a second, I had two of them in my home, and that was really lovely. And really quick, one of the projects that I'm excited to cast on from this book is there's a really awesome blanket pattern, and I have a bunch of acrylic scrap yarn that I want to use and make a blanket. So I never thought I would make a blanket, but I'm really excited about it actually. All right, as I was saying, I am really excited to cast that project on, and I think it's going to be a really nice sort of like background project for me to be working on. Um, all right, well, that's all I have for you. Thank you so much for watching, and I really hope that I can be more consistent about posting about once a month to update on all these projects and see what actually gets cast on and what gets pushed yet again to next year.